I needed to take the steps at that point to incorporate my company in Dubai. So that was a challenge in the beginning. I loved Dubai, so I always had the ambition to move across.
One, two, three, four.
So Khalid, on LinkedIn, we get quite a lot of questions in regards to coming into Dubai as a startup, as a business. And of course, you have the experience of that. So we thought, okay, why not help our listeners understand the landscape of Dubai and when it comes to digital transformation, how they can enter the market. So let's start from the beginning, basically how Akadis was founded and what actually brought you to Dubai.
Okay, absolutely. So Akadis was founded first in the UK, actually. So when I was living in the UK, I was working as a contractor. The company was Akadis. So I was working independently, supporting clients with their implementations in the role of solution architect for Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the applications that sit on that platform. I moved over here in 2018. I'd been to Dubai previously to visit family over here. I loved Dubai, so I always had the ambition to move across. I found the opportunity with a company here who were implementing or going from Dynamics AX 2009 to D365, so on-premise to cloud solution implementation. So they brought me in to head up that team and deliver that solution. In 2020/2021, COVID obviously happened. And as for a lot of people, that project was put on hold. So at that point, I was without a project. And I thought, okay, what do I do? So I went back to my roots as a contractor. And I started working through the Akadis entity at the time. So up until that point, I'd been a salaried employee in Dubai. But I still had the Akadis company running in the UK. I just wasn't contracting through it. At that point, I decided I'm going to start contracting through the Akadis company. And I put my name back out there to speak with clients. And there was just an influx of projects that were ongoing. And because of COVID, people were fine with the support remotely as opposed to being on site, which is how we traditionally delivered. So there was a new space that was created for remote delivery of digital transformation and ERP implementation. So seeing that opportunity, I decided that I would like to incorporate the company in Dubai because at that time I was living here full time. It was COVID. I was barely traveling to the UK. It made sense to be incorporated into Dubai, and obviously, as you know, with the visas that are needed. So I guess for our listeners out there who don't know, to be in Dubai, you need a visa. Typically, your visa is provided through your workplace, or if you are self-employed, then your visa should be provided through your own company. So I needed to take the steps at that point to incorporate my company in Dubai. I did this I was fortunate enough, I had a contact and a friend who owned a structuring company, and they specialized in helping companies effectively get started up in Dubai and incorporated. So I partnered with them and made Dan Freezum to incorporate Akadis Global, as you know it today. So we incorporated Akadis Global. At that point, I was able to get a visa for myself. And once I had a visa for myself, I was able to sponsor my family. So those were the first steps, bringing Akadis Global to Dubai. And from that point, then we were able to continue the work we were doing with clients and build directly from the Akadis Global entity in the UAE.
Okay, so you feel that COVID kind of worked in your favor at that time, or was it nerve-wracking? How did you feel during that period?
COVID took, and I'm sure as for the rest of the world, COVID took me on a journey. So it was first the down because we had a project. I'd come out to Dubai specifically for that project, and the company just didn't have the budget, because nobody knew when COVID was ending at the time. So they decided to halt the funding for that project. So at that time, I was without a project, without a job, and soon to be without a visa. So during that period of time, I started to really get to understand the Dubai market and the UAE market with regards to digital transformation and implementations. What I found was there were a lot of consulting companies or system integrators certified by Microsoft in the region. However, the teams they had in house were not as experienced as I would expect. And a lot of those companies didn't actually have a place in their company for a solution architect as experienced as I was at the time. So what I was finding is I was going in, having a lot of conversations with partners in Dubai and ERP advisory firms in Dubai, and they would say, "You're great, and you clearly know what you're doing, but we can't afford you." And I say, "Oh, why? Do you have an abundance of architects?" And they say, "No, we don't. We just don't have that role for internal solution
That's quite
architect
interesting.
at that salary band." So then you start to speak to clients who are implementing ERP in Dubai, and you start to understand their experience, and you find out there are a lot of digital transformation projects which have failed or are failing or in project recovery because they've engaged partners or integrators who don't have a team that's experienced enough to take them on that end-to-end journey. So through understanding this in the process of searching for a new project after I finished my previous project, I again said I'm going to go back to my roots and go back to Akadis. But also I realized, okay, there's a space here in this region for consultants and architects who have experience implementing ERP globally, and globally to a standard that is used in Europe, the UK, the US, Asia. We've implemented globally. So there's a space for an advisory firm that has that level of experience that can provide that level of end-to-end service through a suite of services that fit different phases of your project, whether it's project recovery, whether it's greenfield end-to-end, whether it's training, testing, data migration reporting. So there's a space for that. So that's, at that
I
point.
think that's one of the great things about Dubai is that once you find the gap in the market, you can easily fill it because you're a specialist.
Absolutely.
And so definitely that's a great foundation for Arcadis Global.
It is.
So what was the journey like when you decided, okay, I'm going to incorporate in Dubai? Did you look at different free zones? Did you look at mainland? What made you choose Meydan in the end?
So the journey, when I started out, my initial thought process was, okay, am I going to be self-employed or am I going to, but what I was finding was actually I had an abundance of clients coming to me at that time with requests. I wasn't able to facilitate all on my own. And I had a really good network of good consultants who were also in the market for work at the time. So I said, okay, I'm going to incorporate my company. Now, depending on the size of the company you want to incorporate, will determine what type of trade license you can get from any given free zone. So we were a small team at the time of, I think we were still under 6 people. So because we were under 6 people, Meydan Free Zone offered you a trading license for the year. Once you have that trading license, you were then able to use your license to get access to a business bank account in the UAE because you can't do that without a trading license. Had we have been 6 users or more, we would have needed a office space of a certain square feet in accompanying that license to be able to have other facilities like banking facilities and credit facilities in the UAE. But we were under 3, so we were able to work remotely, get the license, and set up our banking at that point. Meydan was the choice for me because everything seemed quite seamless, and I did most of it online. I worked with the third-party company who provided me a PRO, who obviously the PROs here, they are responsible for making sure all of the paperwork and the admin needed to get visas started up, get your licenses. They kind of do all of that running around in the middle, and obviously you sign the documents on the end, you make the payments, but they do all the running around in the middle. They get you to where you need to be to, there's a medical test you do before you get a visa. They help you with that. So the process for me was actually quite smooth and quite quick, to be honest. I think within a matter of 2 to 3 weeks, I had a license and a visa.
That's fantastic.
Okay, so and that was again one of the benefits
I
of
think
Maidan
over the
Free
years
Zone.
as well, it's become quite easy where at
It
least
has.
2 to 3 weeks you can have your business up
You
and
can,
running,
you
your bank
can.
account as well. I remember back in the day, it was quite difficult to even get a bank account up and running.
That's so. It's good that you say that because that was the big issue I had right at the start and the first real sticking point. You can get you can get the license, you can get the visa, the bank account. Now you asked the difference between different free zones. So within each emirate, they all have their free zones, and within the emirates, they might have multiple. So within Dubai, there are multiple free zones. Uh, there's Jebel Ali is one, Maidan is another. I think Internet City is actually classed as its own free zone as well. So, and different free zones offer different things and have different price points. The Maidan Free Zone gave me access to, they put me in touch with ADCB, Good Banking, which was who I was with initially. Great company. However, they only provide an AED currency account, no multi-currency functionality, which was a problem for me because we implement globally. We had clients in the US at the time, in Ireland and the UK who needed to pay us in euros, USD, GBP. So that was an issue at the time. We had to use a third-party solution at the time called Currency to receive payments and then convert them to AED and then get it into the bank account, which meant there was a delay between payment and actual physical receipt of payment into the company accounts to then obviously pay our liabilities. So that was a challenge in the beginning.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Thankfully, WIO presented themselves and came along. I feel like they're quite a new bank. I don't know, but I discovered them about a year
Great
in.
for startups, from what I
Yeah,
understand. Yes.
I found out about them about a year into my journey, and I couldn't believe how easy and straightforward it was. I think, and it was all
all online, I think it
online
was,
and on the
yeah.
app. So online and on an app, you know, uploaded my trade license and visa and EID, and I had a bank account. I needed a multi-currency account. I had a multi-currency account all through the app, and that was it. It was done. I had an account confirmation letter and everything. So I would recommend anyone getting started up. I've used Maidan Free Zone, so I just know how that works, and I know it's very reliable, and they've been very, very helpful as well with the recent changes to the tax law and the introduction of corporation tax. So they've been doing a lot of webinars and help sessions to prepare businesses and help businesses submit their first tax report. So I'm a big fan of Maidan Free Zone for that reason. And then we are banking as well in terms of speed, ease, and the facilities they give you up front in terms of checkbooks, credit cards, and things like
And
that.
all this research you did on your own, or did you have some consultants guide you or friends guide you on this?
Majority I did on my own. I did have my friend who had the structuring company, so he was able to put me in touch with a few different people and places. But most of it was there's a bit of trial and error in there along the way. Even in terms of how we set up our website and things like that, and you know firsthand because I've worked closely with you in the development of that side of things. So a lot of it's just research and trial and error, and that's one of the reasons to sort of have these conversations now to explain to people sort of where to go for different things and how to get up and running quite quickly.
So, what's your advice for a startup looking to come into Dubai, or someone sitting in Dubai and has an idea in their mind? What's your advice for them?
So if you're outside of Dubai coming in, obviously you can get in on a tourist visa, but you need to have startup capital. I wouldn't say a huge amount, but I think for around, if you're saying dollar value, probably say 8 to 10,000, I'd say dollar value for everything you'll need for the startup and the different costs associated with the visa, the license registration and the likes. If you have about $8 to $10,000, you can get started up. And again, within a couple of weeks, you have your license, you have your visa. Once you have that, you can get your bank account. Once you have your bank account, you can start selling, buying, trading, and doing everything legally. Obviously, once you have your first thing is to register with the free zone for the license. Then obviously apply for your Emirates ID. Once you get your Emirates ID, the bank account, and then once you have your bank account, obviously you need to make sure you have a proper, ideally some sort of accounting solution to manage your books throughout the year so you can report on tax at the end of the year. I personally use Zoho Books because, again, ease of use, ease of startup, a good starting point for a company my size.
How do you feel Dubai is in terms of an environment for a startup? What do you feel we have that supports startups in terms of finding clients, being the first to do something, having a specialized skill? How do you feel it is here in Dubai?
Without being biased, probably one of the best places in the world for it. And the reason for that is everything I just explained in terms of the ease of starting up a business. That's the first part. The second part is Dubai is they've built themselves as a hub for the world in different areas, but in every area you find networking opportunities. You know, if I look on, you know, if I type into Google, on any given day there is a networking event for small, medium enterprises. There is a networking event for people in technology. There's a networking event for people of color in technology or people of color in Dubai. There is, and the beauty of Dubai is, you know, I think it's something like 80% of the population are expats. 80% of the population are people who are either working here or entrepreneurs and trying to build a network. They've all moved from another place to be here. So networking events are the norm here. There's multiple events happening on a weekly basis. It's very easy to meet people. And I'd say one of the big pluses to Dubai to somewhere else in the world, I'm from the UK and maybe in some places in Europe, it's very easy to get from a conversation to the decision maker, the person that signs the checks. There's not a lot of hoops to jump through. If you meet someone and you build rapport and they like you, you can be in a conversation with a decision maker in the next minute or the next day. And it's not a difficult place to get to. And that's one of the things I found about Dubai and doing business here.
And so how do you find your work-life balance here in the city? Because it's always busy. There's always something to do. How do you find that for yourself?
I'm not a great person to ask about work-life balance because I love my work and I love my clients are important to me, and the success of my clients is very important to me. So I probably tend to, you know, work more than I should, if that makes sense. But again, the work-life balance works well here because quality we have in terms of the weather means the type of events that are available. It's normally a rooftop bar. It's normally open air. The drinks are flowing. So even if you go somewhere and you don't network or meet anyone that day, you probably have a good night. You probably have a great view of the birds from wherever you are in the city. So it's, even though things that are work related, is really enjoyable from that point of view. And then actually what I find is the activities that are not obvious networking events are probably where I do the most of my networking. So I play a lot of paddle in Dubai. Okay. And there's paddle courts. There's hundreds of paddle courts in Dubai, and you know it's a really popular sport here for, you know, everyone. It feels like at the moment. And you go to any given paddle game, you'll meet someone there who is a corporate exec. You know, it feels a bit like paddle now is what
new golf.
It's the new golf. It's the new golf where deals
true.
are signed. You know, I'm actually part of a paddle network here where, you know, everyone there is an exec in similar fields, and there's deals happening.
Taking part in tournaments.
Exactly, taking part in tournaments and leagues and stuff like that. So, yeah, the work-life balance here is amazing, and I think again the weather in this part of the world makes that possible because you've got good weather all year round, so you're not limited to just catching people at a certain time.
Besides summer, right? I mean, but then again, we go indoors and then...
We do. So, so the summer months are a bit quieter. But that's like, you know, 3, 4, 5 months or whatever. But the rest of it's really nice.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add quickly? I'll just edit this One last question. So Khalid, how does digital transformation compare in the GCC to anywhere else?
Good question. I like the question. How does it compare? So the journey of digital transformation is the same anywhere in the world. How it compares, there's a lot of factors. So we've already spoken about one factor, which is the consultants and advisory firms that are available in this region to deliver digital transformation. If I look at somewhere like this region, and this is just obviously my observations and opinions, it's not fact, but good consultants and advisories can be scattered across many different companies. If there's 100 companies, you might find one in here, one in there. Whereas in other parts of the world that I've worked in, you could normally look at a handful of firms who have a high concentration of good consultants. So if you go and work with that partner or that advisory firm, you know that's where the good consultants work and exist. And there's quite a small pool of them, and it's a community. Whereas in the GCC, that's not happened. So maybe that's because maybe digital transformation is a bit newer in this region. Nobody's actually sort of started that work to pull them together as such yet. So that's one of the challenges in this region, is that it's not so easy for an end user to go to a certain place and say, okay, I'm going to pick a consultancy or an advisory firm from here. You know, they've got to either be fortunate enough to know about an advisory firm and find them, or be put in touch with someone who knows a Cardis Global, for example, and say, go and speak to Khaled and find out more about what they do, because it sounds like they could help you.
Okay. I think also in this region, networking is quite important. So
Hugely important.
yeah, I think it's it's not necessarily just a very formal discussion. It's about getting to know people and having a meal with them, having a coffee with them. I think that's also what makes this region very special and
Absolutely.
different.
It's not even, you're right. It's not about getting meetings in offices. It's literally, you finish a game of paddle, you're dripping with sweat, you're sat down having a coffee, and you find out that someone has a requirement for digital transformation. You start talking. They say, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, send me a proposal or send me a prospectus, and you go from there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Khalid, for
Thank you.
helping our listeners understand the UAE and how to enter the market.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And like I said, it's something we have experience in. So if people are interested, do reach out, leave a comment in the comment section, and we can have a convo in there. Or if you are in Dubai, we can meet up in person and have a conversation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.